Hello there, and welcome. Today, Friday, I want to talk about anomalies, which I always do, but I actually want to link it back to my Monday and Tuesday episodes of this week to talk a little bit about this issue of a principal in a small school trying to help a very unique situation. So, how can we adjust to people with special needs? Here's the big problem that principals and leaders of systems like this face. We have systems designed a certain way because that works. And through time, as really strong thinking and imaginative people deal with these systems, they can often tweak them to work even better for more people. That's one of the challenges for a principal who's thinking about doing something special for a particular kid. Now, in the case of the kid who had to care for his family, that principal talked with the counselors and eventually set up a system where that young man didn't have to come to school first hour. First hour he could be at home, and then that way when he came during second hour, he wasn't going to be failing a class because he missed first hour so many times. And so it wouldn't hurt his GPA. Now, that was a solution for the moment, but not for the system. And here's why. Any time you make an exception or make a special case, you cannot just base it on, well, I knew the kid and he needed special treatment, and so we gave him special treatment. Because the truth is, that's not fair. And there are principals who will do things for someone they know that really aren't fair, and I've talked a little bit about some of those things that they will sometimes do. So it's important that whenever an exception or a change is made, that it's made in a really rational and fair way. So this principal who had this student who had this problem, he wasn't the only one facing situations like this. Nearly every school principal faces a situation where a kid has a special case. A kid might be sickly. A kid might have people in the family that are sick that he needs to help with or she needs to help with. A kid might need to make some money to pay for stuff, especially things like school. Now, when I was young, I worked to pay for college, and I worked through the summer, I worked through the college year. I was a work-study student, and I did enough work during my off times and down times that I was able to pay for my schooling. Now, I don't know that that's possible at any school now. Maybe at a community college, I simply don't know. But sometimes students need to work in order to pay for the things they need, and that means they may need to take some time out of the school day. So what many systems have worked out are flexible schedules, whereby juniors and seniors can have fewer classes during the day and leave school earlier so they can do other things. So they can do things like have a job, help on the farm, help with the family business, help with the family. Those things are available and possible. And the biggest thing that schools need to do is to make sure that there's a system by which a student can apply for it and get it without having to have a personal relationship with some particular person in the building. It's not fair if you have to have influence because of who you are. It's fair if you have a special situation to have influence because of what you need. And I think that's one of the most difficult things for schools to sort of wrap their system around, is to say, okay, we're going to change the rules so that this set of cases can be addressed fairly. And what I used to say to my friends and fellow teachers and to my bosses was, look, don't make a rule unless it's a rule everybody should follow. If it's a good rule, everybody should follow it. Like stop signs. Stop signs are a good rule, and every single driver should follow the rule of stop signs, including cops. The same is true for some of these other things, especially in school. It's a good thing to require students to complete material in order to earn a diploma or a grade. That's a good thing. It's a good rule. But there should be room in there to address particular cases in as just a way as possible. So that means that we have to be thinking about things like, should students be allowed to turn in late work? Well, I think teachers, class by class, should make those rules, but they should be applied fairly. And so I think principals should go out of their way to say that. Instead of making a school-wide policy about late work that applies to all teachers, say to teachers, you have to make a policy about late work. It has to be included in your course description, and you have to follow it. That way, the principal stays out of the day-to-day business of the teaching, and it puts the stress on teachers being fair. We all know teachers can be unfair, and I am going to address some more of those in the coming days. But I think it's a good thing for all of us to contemplate. If there's a rule, it should be a rule that everybody follows. If it's a good rule, everybody should follow it. If it doesn't need to be a rule for everybody, then don't apply it to everybody. Apply it where it needs to go. In other words, a rule inside a classroom can apply just to the classroom, not to the whole building. I know that sounds sort of like trying to have the cake and eat the cake as well, but it's not. It's an attempt to simplify school-wide systems so that they can be fair and simple to apply. As much as possible, I think we should try to lean away from using rules as a cudgel to force people to do what we want. I think rules and laws should be limited because if there are fewer of them, they're going to be easier to follow and easier to apply to a population. Well, that was a very strange anomaly for today, but I hope it gave you something to think about. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I hope you see me soon, you gorgeous people.